Meanwhile, some religious leaders have rejected calls to assist government in curbing the looting and the awful situation in the country at present. They say government is closing churches, yet they want the church to assist in curbing the protests. AMTV will bring you more on this particular story because we had appointments with some men of God to speak to us on this subject. Meanwhile, the Soweto Ministers Fraternal say they are meeting to strategize after seeing that law enforcement has been unable to contain the ongoing looting in the KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng provinces. Speaking in an interview with AMTV, General Secretary of the Soweto Ministers Fraternal, Pastor Timothy Setile, say they observed that the South African Police Service were unable to handle the situation, thereby their intention to offer assistance.
We've been having meetings almost daily. Before I came to this interview, I was in the meeting with the executive committee members of the Soweto Ministers Fraternal. Okay. So we've been meeting to strategize. Yesterday, we had no choice, but we had to be on the ground, because from sitting, on the television and watching the news, you could not really come and plan and strategize because you don't know really what is happening on the ground. So we were in these different places. We're at Jabulani Mall, we're at Maponya Mall, we're in Pick and Pay in Rockville, we were in USAVE in Moletsani. We're almost all over trying to understand really the situation on the ground. Hence, we can now sit and begin to plan and strategize that now that we've seen what's happening on the ground, now we've seen that the law enforcement officers are overwhelmed, they cannot contain the situation,
Absolutely.
And the situation really is beyond the control of the SAPS, and we have decided that, when things are beyond our human comprehension, we call for the higher power, which is God, to intervene.
What started off as a pro-Zuma protest metamorphosed into looting and burning of shops by criminal elements. For the past 7 days, shops in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal have been emptied by these criminal elements. Pastor Setile said the church has a crucial role to play, owing to the fact that men of God were respected voices in society.
The role of the church, it's quite simple and straightforward. It is the role of influence. We know, particularly as African nations, we hold highly or reverence highly pastors and reverends because of the role in society they play. Hence, as there's a certain level of respect you are given as a minister and as a pastor. And that is what we need to ride on. Because when the society is in trouble, for example, when somebody is born, they need a pastor to baptize that child. When somebody dies, they need a pastor. When somebody gets married, they need a pastor. So our relationship with society, it is more of an intense one. So I think we are the voice of reason. We are that voice that people can be able to hear better than the voice of the politician. Simply our solution, we are calling upon men and women of God to really have a voice. Even if you send a video message to all people that you are contacting, churches who have systems send SMSs, to condemn the act, talk, let us be vocal. The fact that we are sitting in a lockdown, it doesn't mean we cannot reach our people. We're living in a digital society, at which we can send that message across regardless of the limitations of movement as a result of the pandemic.
He said the group will employ spiritual solutions to what is happening in some parts of the country.
Yeah, I must admit to you that it's really not gonna be easy. The law enforcement, they are not containing the situation.
Absolutely.
Politicians aren't containing the situation.
Absolutely.
Government is not containing the situation. And our solution, for example, we, in the next coming days, building up to the 25th, we are calling upon a godly solution, or we're calling upon a spiritual solution. We don't see any other solution, in addition to our interventions, that are physical as mortal beings. We are calling upon, a corporate prayer that will be starting from tomorrow, building up to the 25th, where we will all be praying, to cover these areas, to cover the COVID-19 pandemic, to cover the political unrest and the division within our nation that we see from the level of leadership, and that is culminating down to an ordinary citizen in our country. The issue of the economy, and these are issues that we want to bring before God in prayer, as the South African Christian community.
He warned against people looting and stated that the church had a responsibility to mold the behaviors of people.
And we also take our platform as religious leaders, and as pastors, as ministers, we have a voice. For an example, I know in my church, I have condemned the act as it started, and I believe so that there has not been any member in our church, that have gone to loot, and should the information really reach me that any of our members was there looting, it's a behavior that we have to confront. Remember, the responsibility of the church is to change behavior. We're custodians of our societal behavior, and we are the experts in that area. We are better knowledgeable than government and politicians in that, because the role of the church really is to move people away from behaviors that are wrong, that may not work for the better good of the society.